Skipping meals doesn't inherently destroy your metabolism. If you are exhausted and wasting hours prepping tiny portions, you may be fighting your biology. I used to believe grazing all day was mandatory for energy. But what really happens to your cells when the food stops for exactly 23 hours? Here's what most people miss. We are constantly told that eating small, frequent meals keeps the metabolic engine running. But some clinical data suggests the exact opposite. Constant grazing can keep insulin elevated, which may drive systemic inflammation and cognitive fog. You might think a slow metabolism and constant fatigue are caused by a lack of incoming calories. The old model suggests you need to eat continuously to keep the fire burning. But researchers point to a different culprit entirely. The real enemy is often a chronic digestive burden. Your body rarely gets a moment of true metabolic rest. A common mistake is trying to cut calories through multiple, carefully restricted small meals. This chronic restriction confuses your system. It can lower your baseline metabolic rate. Think of elevated insulin like a heavy one-way valve locking away your stored fat reserves. When that valve stays shut, your internal battery cannot activate. The solution is not only meticulously counting calories, it is often establishing a strict zero glucose framework. Now watch what changes next. By shifting to a specific 5-step, 23-hour fasting protocol, you trigger a precise biological cascade. When you completely stop external energy intake, the first biological trigger initiates immediately. The zero glucose protocol starts the moment you stop eating. Step 1 covers hours 0 to 12 and focuses entirely on the glycogen drain. Think of your liver and muscle glycogen like cash in your wallet. It is easily accessible, highly convenient, and always spent first. During these initial 12 hours, your system relies almost exclusively on this pocket change. Baseline insulin levels begin a steady, uninterrupted decline. This drop is a critical communication signal. It tells your metabolic engine to stop expecting external deliveries and prepare for a fuel transition. Practically, what you'll notice is a rapid drop in water weight during this phase. Glycogen physically binds to water inside the tissue, so as the wallet empties, excess fluid is naturally flushed out. A common mistake here is interrupting the drain with hidden liquid calories. Artificially flavored waters, zero-calorie energy drinks, or branched-chain amino acid supplements may trigger a minor insulin response. Even a slight insulin bump can shut the one-way valve right back down, stalling the process. This is where the switch flips. As you cross the 12-hour mark, the cash reserves run extremely low. Your body must now transition from easily accessible glucose to stored body fat, pushing you into step 2, the metabolic shift, spanning hours 12 to 16. Lowered insulin acts as the master key. It unlocks fat cells and releases triglycerides into the bloodstream. These are broken down into free fatty acids, which the liver converts into ketones, a highly efficient alternative energy source for the body and brain. In plain terms, this means you will likely notice a temporary wave of fatigue, quickly followed by a sharp, sustained sense of mental clarity. The brain often runs better on a steady stream of ketones than it does on aggressively fluctuating glucose. The primary mistake in step 2 is mistaking a hormonal wave for physical starvation. The hunger hormone, ghrelin, pulses in a rhythm. Intense hunger tends to pass if you simply wait it out. Many feel the pulse, assume a system crash, and prematurely break the protocol. Now we can map the mechanism. Most people fail right here. Between hours 16 and 20, a deeper biological process begins to scale up. Step 3 focuses heavily on cellular infrastructure and repair. When external energy is completely absent, the body naturally shifts its priority toward internal maintenance. Research suggests this window is often associated with a cellular process called autophagy. Think of autophagy as a microscopic recycling crew sweeping through your system. It actively hunts down damaged cellular components, essentially biological rust, misfolded proteins, and poorly functioning mitochondria. A misfolded protein is like a bent key that no longer fits the biological lock. The recycling crew dismantles this broken machinery and melts it down into useful raw materials to build optimized parts. A significant error in this phase is consuming artificial sweeteners in an attempt to curb lingering cravings. While technically calorie-free, the intensely sweet taste can sometimes trick the brain into an anticipatory insulin response. This minor spike can pull the recycling crew away from the job. Keep your intake strictly to water, plain green tea, or black coffee. And this explains the strange part. As you push into the 20 to 23 hour range, the protocol hits maximum biological leverage. Step 4 is defined by hormonal armor and cognitive enhancement. Your body is now adapted to the fasted state. Evidence suggests that human growth hormone may rise during this deep fasting phase. This acts as a chemical shield. It helps preserve lean muscle tissue while your body relies on stored fat for its energy demands. At the exact same time, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, may increase. This protein acts like fertilizer for your neural networks, supporting existing cognitive function and helping form new pathways. Practically, what you'll notice is a distinct lack of physical hunger and a surprisingly stable mood. The primary mistake here is attempting a maximal load physical training session. Pushing to absolute failure without incoming glucose often leads to overwhelming fatigue. Keep that in mind. We'll use it in a minute. This brings us to the final phase. Step 5, the refeed sequence at hour 23. You have successfully navigated the deep fast, but the transition back to eating largely shapes the entire outcome. During a prolonged fast, your digestive enzymes temporarily downregulate, putting the gut lining into an active state of rest and repair. Many people disrupt the biological benefits of the entire day in just 10 minutes. They flood their resting system with highly processed carbohydrates and heavy fats simultaneously. This forces a sudden demand on a sleeping digestive tract, triggering an insulin spike during refeed. It creates a harsh metabolic rebound. It leaves you feeling bloated, lethargic, and drained of the energy you just built up. The biggest trap of the 23-hour sequence is the psychological justification of the 1-hour feeding window. Fasting is a tool for metabolic flexibility, not a biological free pass for poor nutrition. If you consume highly processed, inflammatory foods, you simply rebuild the cellular trash your recycling crew just worked so hard to clear out. You cannot outfast a highly toxic diet. The precise way to break a 23-hour fast is slowly. Start with a small portion of lean protein or fermented food, like high-quality bone broth. This gently reawakens the digestive tract. You should then wait at least 30 minutes before introducing complex carbohydrates or a denser meal. Most people fail at metabolic flexibility because they are fighting the wrong enemy. They blame stubborn genetics when they cannot seem to access stored fat. But the real enemy is an interrupted timeline. It is the accidental disruption of the biological sequence through hidden insulin spikes, shutting the locked vault right before it was about to open. When you view the fasting window merely as calorie restriction, you panic at the first wave of physical fatigue. But when you understand the timeline framework, you realize that fatigue is just the mechanical shift from external pocket change to internal locked vaults. The 23-hour window is not a test of endurance. It is a sequence of precise hormonal shifts that only works if you respect the timing and allow the full cycle to complete. This content is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Here's the simple way to apply this. To implement this more cautiously, do this. Stick strictly to plain water, green tea, or black coffee to keep your cellular recycling crew active. Break the fast gently with bone broth or lean protein exactly 30 minutes before your primary meal. Avoid this. Try not to consume artificial sweeteners during the deep fasting window. Do not flood your resting digestive tract with heavy fats and refined carbohydrates simultaneously, which can trigger a harsh metabolic rebound. If you only remember one thing, lowering your insulin can unlock your internal fuel vaults. But how carefully you break the timeline determines if you actually burn the fat or simply lock it right back up. Next, watch the video where I break down the most common mistakes people make in the first 12 hours. If you want more breakdowns like this, stay with this channel. Which part of this timeline have you been missing?